Hey guys, I'm going to be doing my January wrap-up for you today. I'm going to start with the books that I read while I was on vacation earlier this month. The first one that I have here is Still Alice by Lisa Genova. This is a story of Alice, who's a professor at Harvard, and she has 3 grown children, she's married, and she seems to have a very good life. And then she gets diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's, and so this is her story of coping with the disease and kind of seeing how the disease affects her family, and what she learns along the way. Every chapter is broken up into months, so as the months go by, you start to see how Alzheimer's is starting to affect Alice and all of the frustrations and difficulties that she's having living with this disease and having to give up a lot of what she loves, specifically her job, how it affects her marriage and her family. And I thought that this was brilliantly written. Lisa Genova has a PhD in neuroscience from Harvard, so she really knows her stuff, and I admire her for being able to put us in Alice's head and see how Alzheimer's affects someone personally. It was really hard to read at times. It was heartwarming, and you really feel for Alice and you really learn to care about her, so you're kind of rooting for her even though you know how the story is going to end. So I highly recommend this. I really enjoyed it, and I really want to see what else Lisa Genova is going to be writing. The next book I want to talk about is Beloved by Toni Morrison. I loved this book. I talked a little bit about it in my previous video where I recommended some books for Read So Lit, and I gushed about it there, and I'm going to gush about it here. This is a story of Seth, who is a runaway slave and has a very dark past. We don't really know how dark it is until we get further into the book. Although this can be a confusing read at times, it jumps back and forth from past to present. Sometimes you'll start at a chapter and you don't know who's speaking, and there's a lot going on, but I loved every minute of it. I love the writing. I found it beautiful and haunting. There is a lot of symbolism and imagery, and even Seth, the character of Seth, she's so complex and there's so many layers to her, and there's this whole mysterious element that is also thrown into the mix, and I just really enjoyed it. When I went into this book, I didn't know what to expect because I've read Song of Solomon and that was okay, but I didn't know what to expect with Beloved, and it's completely different to Song of Solomon, and it makes me curious about her other books. The next one that I want to read is The Bluest Eye, and I'm really curious to see how different The Bluest Eye will be to this book because I loved it. So I have high hopes for The Bluest Eye, and we'll see what I think of it when I get to it. But highly recommend this, but like I said, kind of go into it with no expectations and just see if you like it, because I don't think it's for everybody, but it was for me. It worked for me. The next book that I read was Wild by Cheryl Strayed. This is her memoir of hiking the Pacific Crest Trail from California to Oregon. She was 26 at the time, and she decided to hike the trail after her mother died. She was dealing also with some issues with her marriage, and her marriage ended, so she kind of went on this journey to kind of find herself. I absolutely love this memoir. She's very candid and self-aware, very open and honest about her feelings and, you know, what her thought process is while she's hiking this trail. She talks about how she prepared for it, how unprepared for it she ended up being, the people that she meets on the trail, and all the different things that she learns along the way. And I just really loved it. I read it in chunks at a time, and I just couldn't get enough. I really enjoyed this. I'm so glad that I read it, and I highly recommend this one if you love memoirs. Next, I read Chronicle of a Death Foretold by Garcia Marquez. At the beginning of the book, Santiago Nazar is killed by 2 brothers, and you don't really know why until you read on, and as you read on, you're kind of tracing back the steps of Santiago, the 2 brothers, and why he ended up being killed. And I absolutely loved it. There's a great cast of characters, and Marquez is just brilliant at telling a good story. This was 100 pages, and it could have been written in 50, but I enjoyed that he rambled on and added all of these other elements and all of these other characters into the mix, which is strange for me because usually I enjoy writing that is very to the point, well written, but there's not too much rambling or added fluff. So that's the kind of writing that I usually gravitate towards, but I just love what Marquez does. I don't know what it is. He's just that good of a writer. And so I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. The next thing that I read was Lock and Key Volume 2. I really enjoyed this. A little bit more is happening now. Now all 3 siblings know of the keys and what they can do. I'm also realizing that there is a lot of different types of keys towards the end of this. Here, You can see all of the different keys, and it goes over what each key can do. So that was really interesting, and I'm really excited to see what's going to happen in Volume 3. We have a interesting character named Luke. I'm very curious about him and what he's there for and what his goal is. But I really enjoyed this key. This key, when you put it in the back of your skull, your head kind of opens and you can take things out, put things in, play around with whatever's in there, and I thought that was just so interesting. I gave it 4 stars, and I'm definitely going to be picking up the next volume. I also read a big chunk of John Adams by David McCullough. As you can see, I'm about halfway through, or a little bit more than halfway through. This little section back here is just a bunch of notes and references, so really the biography will end right here. So I only have a couple more pages to go. Like I said in my what I'm reading video, I'm trying to read 30 pages a night, so I should be done with this one by the first week of February, hopefully. I've also been reading A Little Life with Marie Berg. We're buddy reading this one, and I'm reading it on my Kindle, and I have a long way to go. And then for February, I wanted to read some books for Black History Month and take part in Read So Lit, which I'll have a link down below to my recommendations for Read So Lit video so you guys can see and get some ideas if you're interested in joining us. But what I wanted to do this month is I wanted to read books all by Black women. So I have 3 here. The first one is All About Love, New Visions by Bell Hooks. I saw this on Goodreads and I really loved the synopsis. This is basically Bell Hooks talking about love and what she feels love is. And I can't wait to get to it. I've never read anything by her. This one just spoke to me. And then I also picked up Zami by Audre Lorde. I think that's how you say her name. This is a biomythography. So that automatically has me interested. This has gotten a lot of great reviews. And I tried to read a little bit of the synopsis, but then I stopped because it was kind of giving too much away. So I really want to go into this one blind and see what I think of it. I'm very curious about what biomythography, what that means and what that's going to read like. So I got this one. And finally, the last one that I'm going to be reading is The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. You've already heard me gush about Beloved in this video, so I'm very curious about The Bluest Eye. I've heard a lot about it. We'll see what I think of this one when I'm done with it. And then I got a book for my Booktuber Recommends project from the library. This is The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie. This is a young adult story. I've heard a lot about this book. It's kind of made its way around BookTube. I was already interested in it, but then someone recommended it for my Booktuber Recommends project, so I'm going to be tackling this one this month. And then for my Latin authors project, I picked up More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera. This is a debut novel, and I believe it's young adult. Adam Silvera's extraordinary debut confronts race, class, and sexuality during one charged near-future summer in the Bronx. I'm really curious what I'll think about this one. Since this is a debut novel and it just came out, I don't really know much about it, so I'm going in blind and I'll let you guys know what I think of it when I'm done. So those are all of the books that I'm reading for February and all of the books that I read in January. Let me know down in the comments what you read or what you plan to read. If you're going to be participating in Read So Lit, let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.